Hi everybody, welcome to the Mean and Mighty Writing Machine series. My name is LaFountain. What I'd like to do in this series for part 1 is go over this phrase you're likely to hear as you continue your college coursework, academic writing, and give you the real deal lowdown. I think sometimes when we first enter college, we're not really sure what this entails, right? What does it mean to be an academic writer? What does it mean to produce a college level paper? And I'll use those two phrases interchangeably. And what I hope to do is walk you through the 4 main characteristics so that you have a clear idea of how academic writing differs from what you might have done in the past, either in high school or in the workplace, and also give you a clearer sense of what your instructors expect from you when it comes to producing college-level writing. Okay, the first main characteristic of academic writing, you want to make inquiries. Here's the thing, if you're anything like me, when I was a freshman, when I was a sophomore, and I got a writing assignment, all I wanted to do was rush to the computer and begin typing away. I just wanted to get it done. I wanted to move on to the next thing. But nothing, and I can promise you this, none of the papers that I wrote using that mentality, nobody wanted to read them. I didn't really want to write them, and they were just pure garbage. So, as an academic writer, I want you to get in the habit of slowing down. Don't rush to the computer and dive in head first. That might seem very unnatural at first, but just dismantle that mentality. Slow it down. So what are you supposed to do? If you're not rushing to the computer and you're just typing away, what are you supposed to do in that prep stage? What I propose to you is to pose yourself the following questions early on, before you even type that first sentence. So here's the first one I put up. What do I want to focus on? I may have a topic in mind, but it's this huge topic. Underneath that umbrella, where do I really want to go? What do I want to zoom in on? What's interesting? What gets me fired up? What do I want to actually write about? What do I want to focus on? Can I take some notes on that early on to clarify where I want to go? If so, I guarantee that will help you. Number 2, what do I want to learn? Alright, maybe I'm coming into this topic with some background knowledge, but you know what? I know there's a ton of information out there that I've never seen, and you know, maybe my knowledge level is pretty low when it comes to this component of the topic. What do I want to learn more about? Where are my weaknesses when it comes to this topic? What do I need to research more? And also, what do I want to learn just because of personal interest? What gets me fired up? I think you really need to keep that in mind as well. What gets you excited? What makes this paper fun to write? What can you learn that will make you an expert by the time you finish your researching and writing process? The third question, what do I want to attempt to prove? What do I want to accomplish in this paper? Is there a certain argument I have in mind? Am I trying to get the reader to see this issue through a certain lens? If so, keep in mind that might change over time. That's okay, but can I jot some notes down early on? What am I trying to prove? What am I trying to do in this paper? What's the goal? From point A to point B, what do I hope to accomplish? And that might change over time, but let's take some notes early on that before I even dive in and begin writing. The fourth big question, how do I want to organize my work? Map it out. I know a lot of you, like I said, you just want to get in there and it will come to me, but sometimes we get to page 3 and, oh no, I'm totally lost. I'm in the woods. It's dark. I'm crying. I don't know where to go from here. What am I going to do? I'm freaking out. I created a map. I can refer to my map. I feel better. Oh yeah, to go into that on page 4. I wanted to move into that after that paragraph. It's always good, I think, to have a map, and it doesn't need to be set in stone, but I think it's a good thing to construct early on and refer to as you continue writing. And as I put in the bottom, as you answer these questions, by attempting to answer these questions early on, you'll be more conscious of your writing goals and you'll produce a higher quality piece of writing. You're not just diving in. And I think sometimes when we do that, when we just dive in, we're spinning our wheels, right? We're just writing paragraph after paragraph, and a lot of it is fluff. The writing isn't focused. We don't really know what we want to do. We have no structure to the paper. So be more conscious of these questions early on. Take notes on them and recognize that the answers to these questions, they won't come right away. And nothing is set in stone. They can change over time as you learn more about your topic and get deeper into the writing process. Characteristic number 2, academic writers value complexity. So as you're researching and learning more about your topic, don't settle for those simple either or solutions, right? It's either A or B. It's this or that. We call that binary thinking. And this is really tough because I think we like to do this sometimes. I know I do. Whenever I'm arguing with my sister, I always do this, right? The issue is A or B, and A is right because A is my opinion. No. We don't want to do that as academic writers because it's juvenile. And it also makes it seem like the only two sides to the issue exist. And that's really never the case, right? Think about all of the topics that you're likely to get into as a college level writer. None of them can be reduced to just two sides. And as I put, that binary thinking, it's bogus, it's dangerous because number one, it forces us to ignore information that doesn't fit into those two sides. If you go in and you're only looking for one, okay, I just need to keep finding sources that agree with that. Well, I'm ignoring everything else. And by doing that, it makes the topic seem much simpler than it actually is. So here's what you want to keep in mind. As you're researching, be open to multiple perspectives and allow them into your work, even if they run counter to your stance. I think that's a very tempting thing to do early on, is to only seek out those sources that are in agreement with what we're trying to prove, but this will make your paper so weak. Instead, think of yourself, be adventurous as a writer. Go out and expose yourself to as many voices as you can and bring them in. Not just because it's a good thing. Why do that, in other words? Your readers will gain a stronger understanding of the larger conversation taking place around your topic, right? You're not just focused on a few voices, you have many voices. They understand what people are saying, what people are writing about, what people are thinking when it comes to this topic. And by bringing these multiple voices into your work, you'll come across as a much more informed writer. I guarantee it. You're really showing your readers, you rolled up your sleeves, and you dove into the research process, and you weren't afraid. You weren't researching with the blinders on, so to speak. So find those multiple perspectives and allow them into your work. Don't be afraid of them. Characteristic number 3 of academic writing, enter the conversation. So never, as an academic writer, I never want you to think, all right, here's my argument, it's the right one, conversation done, we don't need to discuss anything else. Instead, academic writers are always building and responding to other ideas. And you need to recognize that the conversation is never done or dominated by one voice. So I want you to keep those two words in mind, building and responding to other ideas. Not trying to drown them. And what I like to tell students is think of it like a swimming pool. You have a topic in mind, and everybody in that swimming pool is focused on the same topic as you, but they're looking at it through different lenses. They're looking at it in different ways. So you want to get into that pool and you want to swim around. You want to listen to what others are saying and expose yourself to their voices. You're not trying to drown everyone and prove them wrong. Instead, you become immersed in the conversation so that you can ultimately find your own spot in the pool and form a fresh perspective. What's she saying about this topic? What is he saying about this topic? What am I learning about this topic from these perspectives? How can I build off of these ideas? Maybe I want to push back against some of these ideas. That's good. You want to get in there. You want to show your readers that you've really entered that pool. You know what the conversation is. You can teach them something. And you're also finding out, you know what, where do I stand in this conversation? Where do I want to carve out my spot? I've learned so many different voices. Where's my own voice in this conversation? Characteristic number 4. You're not going to like me. If you were here, I bet I would see a lot of eye rolling and exasperated sighs, but academic writers, they draft. And I know this goes against, right, you just want to get it right the first time and move on, but academic writers, you need to recognize that you're not going to get it right the first time around, and that's okay. Nobody gets it right the first time around. Instead, think of writing as a process. I'm sure you've heard this before. It's a process, and revision is key to producing a polished final product. When I use the word revision, you're probably thinking things like spelling and grammar, and that's true, that's part of the revision process, but when you get to the college level, revision is much deeper than that. So I gave you some examples of what you might have to do as you begin revising your work. Number 1, you may have to reevaluate your main argument or stance. You know what, I entered that swimming pool and I learned so much about my topic that the original argument I had, it doesn't really make sense anymore, right? I think I want to change it, I want to tweak it. Well, that's okay, I can do that. And that's probably a good sign that you're actually learning a lot about your topic that you didn't understand before, didn't know before. So I might have to reevaluate my argument. I might have to change it completely, and that's okay. Number two, you also might have to remove or alter sections of your work. So as you're going through your paper, in the first few drafts, maybe that paragraph made sense in the middle, but now I'm looking at it, and you know what, it's week 3, I've been with this paper for a while, and that paragraph just doesn't seem to be contributing anything to my paper. Maybe I need to take it out. Or maybe I changed my argument, and now I need to alter that section, because it doesn't really make sense anymore. So this is, again, much deeper than just, all right, the comma's in the right spot, is the spelling correct? I might have to change things, I might have to remove things. That's okay. The third big question, or rather concern or thing to keep in mind, is to be open to the possibility of reorganizing your paper. Right? Maybe that paragraph that's way at the end, maybe I need to bring that up. And I'd like to say that this becomes easier when you give your paper some time to get cold. In other words, it's a good thing, I think, as an academic writer, to let your work sit for a while and then come back to it with a fresh set of eyes, and you'll have a much easier time sensing the flow of the paper. Does it flow well, or does it kind of jerk the reader this way and that way, and maybe you need to smooth things out and move paragraphs around? That's a much easier thing to do when you have some distance on your work. So that's, I should have put that up there as well. You know, let your work get cold, come back to it with a fresh set of eyes. And I think all of those questions and concerns are easier to address with that fresh perspective. So remember, revision, it's okay. Nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to dread. It's just part of the writing process, and it's much more at the college level than just making sure you put your commas in the right spot. So be open to revision and know that it's necessary to produce that powerful, polished paper. So that's part 1 of the Mean and Mighty Writing Machine series. And I hope now that you have a clearer sense of what an academic writer is all about. What are some of the main characteristics? What does it mean to produce work that's at the college level? Stay tuned for part 2.